the education tent here at Vegan Campouts. We're about to get our first talk of the day, which will be presented by Viva. Viva are the UK's leading vegan campaigning charity, specialising in undercover investigations and high-profile animal campaigns. Founded in 1994 by Julian Gelatli, Viva has spent almost 30 years creating a kinder, more sustainable world for humans and animals alike. So without any further ado, would you please give a very warm welcome to Joe Dixon and Izzy Acosta.
I think that works. Yeah, just a few glitches will just make me a bit more terrified than I am at the moment. So I would like to say thank you so much for coming. My name is Joe Dixon and I'm the Outreach Coordinator for Viva. And this is my colleague.
I'm Izzy Acosta, I'm an animal campaigner for Viva. Love you too.
We're here today to talk about Viva and how you can volunteer with us, something that's so very, very important. And specifically today we're talking about outreach, something I'm really passionate about and I've been doing for a few years. Are you all okay? Can you all hear me okay? Cool, thank you. Outreach is really crucial if we're to educate the public about the realities of the meat and the dairy industries. And for me, it's a really important bridge between the unremittingly shocking undercover footage that we find routinely every time we do work in factory farms. And we work with people on the high street who, without us prompting them, may never be challenged to think anything other than eating and using animals is okay. Izzy will talk about outreach and how it forms a vital part of our campaigning work. We invite volunteers to come along to our national campaigns, and then we also invite volunteers to set up their own stalls using the same undercover information, footage and leaflets. For our True Costa event, for example, we had over 100 individual events around the country. My role as outreach coordinator is to set up groups around the country, so that's independent of our campaigning work. At the moment, I'm really excited to say that we have 25 groups and 3 new outreach hosts have joined us in the last 3 days. So, a shout out to Aoife, who's going to be doing outreach in Liverpool, and then Calvin and Ashley, who's going to be doing outreach in Redditch, and Deborah, who's going to be doing outreach in Burton-upon-Trent. So thank you so much for joining us, guys. We're hoping to inspire you guys today and try and get as many of you as possible involved in volunteering with Viva. I'm going to talk a little bit about other volunteering opportunities later on, but I'm also going to be talking about Viva's philosophy, which is really crucial to the work we do. But first of all, I'd just like to take a straw poll. So can you just put your hand up if you already are engaged in outreach in any way at all? That's great, thank you. And now, I'm not going to ask any subsidiary questions, but could you put your hand up if you'd really like to do outreach, but there's something that's holding you back, something that maybe makes you feel a bit anxious about outreach? Wow, that's amazing, thank you so much. We're really pragmatic and I'm going to be going through what we do later. I'm hoping that some of you might feel a bit reassured and I'll ask you again at the end of the presentation. So over to my amazing colleague, Izzy.
Right, hello everyone. There's so many people and so many faces who is Viva? Viva is obviously an organisation, as was introduced by my lovely colleague here. Viva was founded in 1994 by Juliet Galatly, and she has been campaigning for the animals for around 40 years. Viva's obviously been around for around 30, which is incredible, and we campaign about 4 areas of expertise. That is the animals, with our undercover, hard-hitting investigations, which some of you might have seen, hopefully. If anyone watched Hogwood last night, did anyone come and watch Hogwood last night? That's one of ours, which was cool. I feel like it was a really good investigation that got a lot of success, and we'll be talking about that in a bit more detail. We also talk about the planet. How many people here have eco-anxiety? Nearly everyone in the room. So it's the most important thing that we can do. I can see there's a lot of young faces here. We are scared for our future, and there's a lot of older faces that might be scared for their children's future, for the grandchildren's future. And that is something that hits us every single day, and that's something that we campaign tirelessly for, as well as the animals, okay? We also understand that people might have never been vegans, and they started as meat eaters when they were children. I've only been vegan for around 5 years. So I needed help in terms of transitioning to a plant-based food system, and we offer that help in terms of offering loads of lifestyle support in the way of an amazing person who runs our recipes, and we also support with people in terms of their transition to health, giving advice in terms of what you can eat in terms of protein, what you can eat in terms of calcium and stuff like that, which is so integrally important for making those changes a lifestyle change for the rest of your life, because I want to be vegan for the rest of my life, and I'm sure all of us do as well. The reason I started working for Viva is because outreach is at the heart of everything we do here at Viva, and that is something that is really, really important for me. My outreach actually started, I'm going to talk about me a bit, sorry, hope that's okay. My outreach actually started in a room like this around 2 years ago. I came to Vegan Camp Out and I sat here. I had no vegan friends, I had no vegan community. I was here by myself with like maybe one plant-based friend that actually looking back isn't very plant-based at all. I don't know, anyone here by themselves? Woo! So many of us. Well done. Yay! That's so good. Thank you so much. Yeah, I was sat here in a room just like you guys, completely unsure where to start, and I remember sitting here being inspired by all the amazing speeches and all the amazing activists that I'm so grateful to say they're my friends now. I'm part of that friendship group, which is great. I heard speeches from Animal Rebellion, from Camp Beagle, from Stop the Badger Cull, Joey Carbstrong, so many incredible activists that work so hard and so tirelessly to end the animal exploitation industry. Something that I heard spoken about loads was the National Animal Rights March. There's me at the front. Rose is around, but I saw her, and Rose grabbed me at the side of Smithfield Market. I stood by myself, and she was like, "You hold this banner, you sound confident." And I ended up leading this entire march. That was my first activism. It was hilarious. So yeah. That kind of catapulted me into activism. I've just not stopped since. I've done outreach after outreach. I was in London, I lived in London, and I just did every outreach that I could find, everything that I could like literally be completely surrounded by. I think I met one vegan guy in the park, and then since then I've got so many vegan friends now, a community of vegans that inspire me every single day to be a better activist, to be a better voice for the animals, and that's just big thank you to all of you. I'm sure there's loads of you in the audience, so big thank you, give yourself a round of applause. I was working full-time as a gym manager, hilarious, because I'm not a gym manager anymore, I'm an animal campaigner now. And I was volunteering so much that I decided it was time to commit fully. I wanted to commit to the animals fully, and I applied for a role at Viva as an animal campaigner. Now, I never really expected to get the job, but somehow I got the job. And I have loved the 3-4 months that I've been there with them, and outreach, like I said before, is at the heart of everything we do at Viva. It's the most integral thing for us. We have worked with so many different groups of activists. You can see me dressed up as a cucumber. That was one of my high points as an activist. I don't know if Molly's here. Molly from Peter, thank you, gal. I don't know if she's here, but she made me dress up as a cucumber once. And that's what I want to point out here. Activism has no right or wrong way. You do what you can as you can, and outreach is the most important form, because without outreach, how can we have a conversation? How can you build organisations organizations? How can you build, I don't know, like a burger company? How can you do all these things? Because you need to be able to speak to people. You need to be able to speak relationships and build these relationships with individuals and really grow and understand how to speak to people. When I'm doing outreach, I speak to people and sometimes they just don't care about the animals. And that's shocking to someone who entire being cares about the animals. And I need to know how to speak to them. So I will change the way I speak to people in terms of speak to them about the planet, speak to them about health, speak to them about lifestyle. And that's what I loved about Viva. Viva offers all those 4 areas and supports us into making those decisions, whatever kind of person you are. Community building is one of the most important things for me as an individual. I've spoken about it already. I came to Vegan Camp Out by myself and I can barely walk 2 meters now without seeing someone that I've done activism with or I'm friends with or I'm inspired by or anything like that. And that's another part of outreach. Outreach builds a community. I feel like we feel very isolated in our individual lives as maybe the only vegan in our friendship groups, the only vegans in our city. The amount of people I've spoken to already that feel so alone. And outreach is something that gives us that strength, gives us that community. I mean, I see so many beautiful faces around here of friends that I absolutely adore and love, and yeah, you guys make everything we do worthwhile. And Viva does that. We went on a yogurt tour just recently. We've just finished our yogurt tour, and that yogurt tour was incredible. I saw so many amazing faces. I can see you all here. Thank you so much for turning up. Birmingham people, I can see you already. Ismail, So yeah, that's the most important thing. Outreach builds that community, it builds that relationship, and it builds everything you can do into making those relationships for the animals. I want to speak a little bit about our most recent investigations. This is the dairy industry. I don't know if you can see the cow behind me. This is a calf. She is a calf that we discovered on one of our investigations. This was an olive farm. Now, female calves, I don't know if any of you know about the dairy industry. Hopefully a lot of you are vegan and already know about the dairy industry, but just in case you don't, the dairy industry completely monopolizes the reproductive system of females. As a woman, as someone who identifies as a woman, this is abhorrent. It upsets me and ignites the fire in me every single day. I want to fight up for these animals. I want to make sure that these animals have a voice and we are their voices. This cow here, she will now be part of a herd. She will be now a milking machine for the first 4 or 5 years when she should be living 20 years. 20 years a cow should live. Who here has volunteered at an animal sanctuary? Who here has seen the beautiful animals that literally act like puppies, cows? That's what these animals should be doing, not locked in these tiny little crates that are there to raise them until for the first 2 months of their lives, until they then go on to then be milked, be part of a herd, be part of a system. And that's what we wanted to talk about at Viva. These female cows only last 4 or 5 years until they are no longer seen as profitable. They carry 27 litres of milk every single day. That's the average that they carry. 27 litres, that's 27 kilograms. That's an appalling amount of weight. The toll that takes on their bodies is insane. So I implore any of you that are vegetarian, that are on the cusp of veganism, please, please, please do some research into the dairy industry because it's the most heartbreaking of all. I've spoken a little about the yogurt tour. Muller Killer is our latest campaign. It came out of our zero grazing investigation. For those of you that don't know, zero grazing is a type of kind of newer style of raising animals and raising dairy cows in particular that constitutes in basically 1 in 5 dairy cows never go outside. That's in the UK. In US, which is where it kind of started, majority of the cows don't go outside. It's something that we are seeing over time. Animals and farmers are prioritizing the profit of these animals, profit that these animals they can get from these animals over the welfare and the well-being of these animals. We felt that this was incredibly heartbreaking and unfair. The life of a dairy cow, like I've already said, is appalling, but this is just added an extra layer and it's an extra heartbreak for these animals. We went on this tour, this yogurt tour, and we spoke to countless people from countless different cities. Like I said, we already had amazing activists join us, which was incredible. Thank you so much. And we showed people the products. You can see there, my lovely colleague Bren, holding like the hobbles. For those of you that don't know, in the dairy industry, once a cow gives birth, sometimes she gets nerval damage. And the farmer's resolution to that is to chain her back legs. And that's seen as welfare, okay? We handed out free yogurt food. We do hand out a lot of free food. We love a good free food. And we handed free plant-based yogurt to so many cities, so many people, and had so many conversations about the dairy industry. We were also offering out stall packs, and some of Joe's volunteers, who she'll speak about in more detail, organised all their own little volunteer groups as well around the country as well. So apart from our own yogurt stall, we also had additional volunteer groups as well. That's a big thank you to everyone, by the way. Thank you. Cool. Some of you here might have been involved in the True Cost of Dairy. Hands up if anyone was involved in the True Cost of Dairy actions. Yay! Oh, that was a big cheer. Thank you, Mel. So the True Cost of Dairy is another dairy investigation that we did. We went into, well, I wasn't with Viva. I've only been Viva for 4 years. 4 years I've been with Viva now. 4 months. And I basically, this was the first thing I did with Viva as an activist. I turned up to this. I felt like I wanted to join in with this. Like I said, dairy is something that, for me, ignites a real fire. And I turned up to this action at Brighton. I don't know if Claire and Leon are in the room. Thank you, guys. And I turned up to Brighton and I did that action with them. And we stood outside of Costa and we handed out some food, we handed some leaflets, we had conversations about the dairy industry. And it was so impactful. And that's one of the main reasons that I then applied for Viva, actually, because I enjoyed that style of activism so much. We had 100 actions in total across the UK. That's 100 opportunities for us to speak to individuals, 100 opportunities for us to speak up about the injustices that these cows face, and 100 opportunities to change people to veganism. And I would hopefully say that we did turn some people to veganism, fingers crossed anyway. Just in case you don't know about our investigation, Home Farm was a dairy farm that we found cows being hit, cows being beaten. We also found dead mothers shot or killed in the entryway. We found discarded female calves or male calves or something, tied up in wheelie bins. I mean, their lives are appalling, and this was a cruelty that we had to stand up for, we had to speak up for. The press reach was around 1 billion hits, and that's incredible, and that's something to do with our investigations. We did a great job in terms of getting the press of that. And that's thanks to you guys as well, because you guys were doing outreach out on the streets, and we were there on the streets talking to people. We got that press, we got that social media hit. You can see the social media figure there, 230,000. Counts the zeros, right? Yeah. 230,000, yeah. And that's only on our own pages. You guys all on your individual pages might have hit far more than that. That's amazing. So loads of people still about dairy and heard about dairy. Something different, Hogwood. So I asked before who watched Hogwood earlier. So I watched Hogwood. I wasn't part of Hogwood before, obviously, like I said, I wasn't a campaigner here. But for me, Hogwood was something like pig industry is appalling. I don't know if you know, but around 90% of pigs get gassed in the UK alone. And I think they are so exploited as an animal themselves. Viva investigated Hogwood Farm around 4 times since 2017, every single time finding the 16,000 pigs in absolute agony. There were animals eating each other, there was cannibalism, there were sick and dying pigs in the gantry. I mean, if you've seen the footage, you've already seen it, I don't need to replay it in your minds. But the cruelty was so appalling and so amassed over the 3 years that they did those investigations that they were able to make a documentary. This documentary got onto Netflix. So if you haven't watched it, make sure you go and watch it on Netflix. It's not the nicest and easiest of viewings, but it's something that is important if you want to be an activist or you want to get out there and speak to people. It gives you a lot of information. After 4 years of campaigning, so that's a long time of campaigning, we were successful in terms of getting Tesco to drop it and Red Tractor to drop the farm, which is a massive win, so well done to the campaigners at the time. To anyone that was in the talk yesterday, I think Juliet actually mentioned that there are potential plans to close down the farm and make it a building block or something, which I think is amazing. Like, it's going to be a housing block, so that might be done. Like, the 16,000 pigs might be free or not be in that cruelty for the rest of their lives, which would be amazing. RSPCA, we love the RSPCA, don't we? Absolutely adore them. They indicated that there was no legal action that they could take. However, they did tell us that they found what they found so horrible. So they verbalised that they didn't like it, but there was no legal action because it was within the welfare legislation. There's not really much else for me to say in terms of the campaigns, because the campaigns all speak to themselves, but without the campaigns and without this incredible network of people that Joe will then speak a bit more about, we could not bring these campaigns to people, to the public. I also want to remind people that outreach doesn't have to be outside of the streets handing out flyers. It doesn't need to be that. It can be going to speak to your friend who's not vegan. It can be recommending a documentary like Hogwood and being like, you should watch this, it would be really interesting. You aren't vegan, you should support this. You should look at this and understand what you support. And that, I think, is also outreach. And I just want to say a big thank you to anyone that is active already. Big thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to pass on to Joe now.
Thank you. So Izzy's talked very eloquently about those 3 really big campaigns, and we do at least 1 or 2 new campaigns every year. And also what's so important with the outreach host group is that with 25 hosts, we have 25 extra actions every single month, which you times that every year is a lot of interface with the public, and we can really try and change hearts and minds on the high streets. So we've said that outreach is pivotal in bringing the hard-hitting investigations into the public domain, and outreach helps us challenge the habits formed through cultural and societal norms. Now, I'm 61, so I don't know if it's just me, but I remember a hardback book when I was a child, and it was about farming, and it had very happy, ruddy-faced farmers and cows and calves that stayed together for life, and little sheep that looked like clouds. I think we're all brought up with this very cutesy image of farming and farmed animals, and very quickly in our lives we start to objectify animals and say it's okay to use them, abuse them, wear them. I'm asked sometimes, because we're really pragmatic in our outreach, are we abolitionists? And yes, we are 2,000% abolitionists, unashamedly. But we're also pragmatic, and we want to be compassionate and understanding in our outreach on the high streets. And for me, I was vegetarian, crazy. I was vegetarian for 30 years before I got the dairy industry. And then I became vegan overnight, and I became active straight away. So we know it's a process, and we want to be alongside people. Thank you. And what I'd like you to do is just take a moment and think about your favourite teacher at school. What was it about them and their approach to you that made you like them despite maybe some of your challenges in your learning journey? Could anyone shout out anything, a word or 2 words about their favourite teacher? Inspiring, yeah. Anything else? Can't hear.
What was that?
Supporting, yes, definitely. Yeah, thank you. And thank you. My background is mental health nursing, and when I did a degree, academia just wasn't for me, but I had a dissertation tutor who knew when to push me, and he kind of met me where I was and just knew how to support me, and I felt very validated despite having these massive gaps in my knowledge. So can you just move on to Melanie Joy? How many of you guys have heard of Melanie Joy? I think more and more we're thinking about how we interact with the public. Some of us are angry, of course, why wouldn't we be angry? But I think the public respond well to a much more, sometimes measured approach. So we take them on a journey. So Melanie Joy talks about being compassionate, being understanding, being curious, and they're the attributes I take onto the high street. I'm really genuinely interested in that person who comes to me. So what are their belief system? What is it that makes them think that animals, using them and eating them and wearing them is okay? I don't know loads of stuff, and some of your anxieties might be thinking, I don't know anything, I can't retain facts. I know about 8 different facts that are really meaningful to me, and I'll bring those out into our conversations. But because Viva has got such a wealth of information, online, written resources, we've got V7, V30, we can help people transition in a really positive way. I don't need to know it all. But if I'm authentic, I'm real on the high street, and I walk alongside the person on their journey, maybe I can just start to change their belief system and ultimately their behaviour, because I want them to stop eating animals. So Melanie also talks about a foot in the door approach. So what she says is, if during our outreach we can get someone to change, make a commitment to something small, not insignificant, then their value system, identity and sense of self slightly changes, and the next time they have a prompt, they will move that much further forward to that end goal of being a vegan. There's very little evidence about what works in terms of outreach and activism, but she quotes 1,000 different research projects, and one of them is quite interesting. It's quite simple. So in Canada, people were asked to put up a really ugly sign in their front window about slowing down in the local community for drivers. 20% of people said yes, they would put up the sign. She asked another group of people to put up a really small, tiny sign. She went back 2 weeks later, and then 70% of those people were really happy with the bigger sign. So we know that change is incremental, and it will take time, and we have to be patient, pragmatic, but bloody resolute. Okay. So outreach hosts and supporters. A couple of years ago, I set up a group in Bristol, and there's some lovely people from our Bristol group over here, so hi. And we go out on the high street every couple of times a month. We have some great conversations with people. We give out maybe 300 leaflets, give out free food samples, usually biscuits and cheese. And it's just become a regular presence, and we love what we do, and it's also created a community. Would you guys agree? I meet a lot of people who are quite isolated, as you said, and they feel they're the only vegan in their community. So becoming part of an outreach group is something great, and you can feel that real connection. So last year I left the NHS, and Julia asked if I'd set up some similar groups around the country. So as I say, we're now on group 25. We didn't think we'd get to 5 groups, so we're pretty pleased that we've got to 25. And we just want to keep going. We have a really, really active WhatsApp group, and some of the hosts have set up their own WhatsApp groups, and they're really, really dynamic and great, and people are really engaged in that. I've written an outreach host guide, and I've given 2 Zoom training sessions, and next Sunday we have our first team day at Dean Farm Trust. I don't know if you're familiar with that sanctuary. So we're going to go along, we're going to review the last 6 months, and we're going to go and give some time to the animals as well, and perhaps have a picnic in the paddock if the sun shines for us. So we can provide you with training, we can provide you with mentorship, we can help you to attract local activists in your area, and that's always a problem, getting people active. And we can show you how to post events on social media and how to effectively engage the public. So other ways to get involved. We really, really like to see people who are new, maybe a little bit anxious. They want to find a voice but don't know how. So we can take you through step by step. We have people who maybe want to stay behind a stall and just talk about cheese, what their favourite cheese is and where they can find that in their local supermarket. And then gradually people get more confident, and there's an amazing lady who was like that. And then suddenly I turned around and she was out on the high street with me, and she was talking to people and come over to our stall and do you know about this and that. And it's great to see how people grow and develop in their own activism. Thank you. So thank you. These are some other ways you can get involved. Market stall holders. So we attend more than 50 events every year up and down the country, and it's a great way for us to raise funds for our vital work. And I've been to a fair number of these, and it's a great vibe, and there's usually great food, so what's not to like? Door droppers. So it's so important for door droppers that we have an army, and we deliver sometimes up to 1,000 leaflets every week. And what's really nice is that I've met some really young dudes, some 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds, who are vegan and passionate, and door dropping is a great way they can get involved in activism. Yay to the young folk. Yay. They are our future. They are erudite, passionate, dynamic. So if they can go out with their mum and dad and deliver 100 leaflets on a Saturday afternoon, what a great introduction into activism. Thank you. And university outreach. So it's great that we have just appointed a university campaigner and a schools campaigner. So we attend approximately 50 Fresh Affairs every year, and it's great to interact with the students. And with the new schools campaigner, hopefully we can start to strategise and think about reinstating our school speaker programme. So that's outreach, and that's other ways of getting involved. Visit viva.org.uk, Viva Volunteer, if you want to think about some of those other ways of volunteering. If you'd like to become an outreach host, that would be amazing. You can email me at outreach@viva.org.uk, or I'll be around and on the stall a little bit later on. So just before I finish, could I just ask the people earlier on who put their hands up saying they'd love to do outreach, but they just feel a little bit anxious, are any of you guys reassured at all that it's something that's quite achievable? Yay, thank you, that's amazing, thank you. I have so much admiration for people, particularly when it challenges them, because I think we all have a little bit of social anxiety, but honest to goodness, we'll be with you every step of the way. Thank you very much, and back to Izzy.
Cool. So, yeah, thank you again for everyone that's turned up to the speech, and I just want to say a big thank you to Vegan Camp Out. Obviously, it just gets amazing and bigger every single year, and it's just incredible to see so many faces from all over the UK. I think there are even some international people there I saw that have come here, which is I think is amazing. So thank you so much, and thank you to every single activist that's in this room that does what they do. We are the voices for the animals, and without that, these animals wouldn't have a voice. So big thank you to everyone who campaigns. Just want a big round of applause for everyone.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to do Q&A, but apparently we've talked to you too much. So big thank you, and we'll see you on the stall. See you later.
Come and talk to us. Thank you.